Hello, welcome to the Wired for Success podcast. I'm your host, Janelle McKinnon. Thank you for joining me this morning. Are you stuck, lacking motivation, and a will to get up and win? If you have stumbled onto this life changing podcast, you will learn how to succeed in every area of your life. As we say over here, welcome to another marvelous Monday, everybody. How are you doing? How was your weekend? I hope you had a great time, whether you're at home, whether you have traveled on some much needed vacation, whatever it is you're doing, continue to do your best and enjoy the life that you have and be grateful. Today, I want to talk a little on discipline. Yes, it's a word every one of us, we would have heard this word before. Because whether you're a child or an adult or an elderly person, we've all had to become disciplined, or we've all been disciplined, or, there's self discipline. Once we are here, the word discipline is no stranger to us. So, one of the definitions for this word, I like to start here. It says that discipline is the quality of being able to behave and work in a controlled way, which involves obeying particular rules and standards. Think about this now. You are a child growing up in a home, you have your parents, or at least one parent or guardian in the home. So, oftentimes, of course, what's in the heart of every child, the desire to be own way, to be disobedient, and to just be want to be undisciplined. All right, we don't want to follow the rules as mentioned. We don't want to obey. We don't want to follow the standards of the home. So our parents, guardians, they're there to what? Instill the proper order of things. One of the things that children need in terms of growing up and showing up in the world as an emotional, intelligent person is that we must have a controlled environment where discipline is administered by those who are in authority. You know, I, as an adult now looking back, I can honestly say, even though as a child, while I didn't like being disciplined, and I'm talking about being spoken to or being spanked, yes, we didn't like these things. You didn't like it. I didn't like it. But looking back in retrospect, I've come to understand that it was necessary. And I am happy that my parents were the disciplinarians that they were, because it helped me. It helped me to be shaped and groomed and to show up in this world and to be a better student of the world and an adult. I'm happy for that discipline. I'm happy for that tough love, even. Happy for all of it now, looking back. Because when I compare it to this generation, I find that while some may say the older generation, they were too strict, they were too this, they were too that, I believe that there are some instances, and I'm not talking about abusive parents who were like inflicting real harm on their kids by branding them and blood and oh my goodness, scary stuff. That is abuse, and there is a thin line there, right? I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about parents who understood. Like my dad always say, there's an anatomy, a part of the anatomy to put the legs, and you know what that is, right? So don't run away from it. It's necessary, because foolishness is truly bound up in the hearts of children. You know that, right? Foolishness is, but the Bible said so, that foolishness. And even when I reflect on my childhood, my God, the foolishness was really bound up in me. God, I'm grateful for the discipline when I look back, because I needed that to bring me into soundness of mind. Ladies and gentlemen, it'll work for you. Being disciplined, it'll work for you. Let it work for you. And so when you grew up in a home where there is structure, yes, I remember during the week, even weekends, we had a structure. We had a bedtime. I believe when I was in primary school, by 8:30, that was our bedtime. We had to get up and go in our beds. Today, children are up till 12, 11. It's like, what is going on? They're up so late, parents find it hard, and I see it. And this is not me speaking down on anybody's parenting style. I mean, do what works for you. You know what goes on in your home. You know how to best navigate that. Prayerfully, hopefully, I trust God that you do. But I know the toddlers may get away with it. Children wake up at a certain hour. Some toddlers are still up late, but I know even the toddlers, because of course, you have memories of back then. Even them, they had to be put down by a certain time. If they got up, that was different, but they were put down, put into bed by a certain time. And when children have that structure in their lives, it works good for them. It works well. That's why you have to pace yourself as a parent. You really have to know the type of structure you want in your home and work towards that. Work towards that with everyone that is living in the home. If there's an aunt there, a grandparent there, say, hey, this is the structure that I want my children to have. So just help me to enforce this. So all of that is a part of discipline. And when we are disciplined as young people, we show up as better adults. We make better decisions. We live better lives. We postpone pleasure. There are things that we can run and do. I was, I, oh my goodness. Sunday, I was looking at this clip, this video actually. It's not a long video, and I put it up on my WhatsApp status. It was this guy talking about his crack addiction. And let me tell you, if he didn't say he was on crack, you wouldn't know it. Because obviously he could have afforded his lifestyle. Still, up to the time he did the interview, at least up until that time. And those are what you call expensive addiction, right? We're still on the Wired for Success podcast, because trust me, if you're going to become addicted to a substance, you might as well kiss certain things goodbye, because it may seem like you're getting ahead in the moment. You're still like you have it under control. There is no control in addiction. It's a downward spiral. You're gonna crash and you're gonna burn and you're gonna come out as ashes on the other side. Yes, that's just what is going to happen to you if you open the door for that. They say oftentimes, and I know it's arguable, because some people feel like, oh, that's a cool thing, that's okay. But I believe even from marijuana, you know, it's a gateway drug. Like, it opens you up. And lots of people, when you do the interviews, when you do the background story, many of them say they would have started on marijuana. The scary thing is some people go through real illnesses and they need certain drugs and then they become addicted. Opioids, we know that's one drug that many people get addicted to, but it's often prescribed for you in pain when you're going through pain. So you have to watch for these things because they have an addictive nature to them. um, so it's good to, if you're using these things, let family know. Listen, I'm using this drug. Just monitor, how I use this because I don't want to be addicted to nothing. And that was one of my concerns when I had done a surgery. But thank God they did what they did in the hospital. And then when I left, I managed it with just what I had. Someone wanted to get something stronger for me, and it so happened that it was never given. And then I said, I'm glad because listen, I do not want to be addicted to anything other than Jesus. Seriously, I do not. It may sound cliche, but I do not. And people, when you are a disciplined person, you are someone who is considerate of others. You're not selfish. You don't only think about, your needs. You consider the needs of others because you think about your society, you think about family and friends. As a disciplined person, you can be assertive without being aggressive or hostile. Oftentimes you find people who are very assertive in our society, they come across as aggressive and they can be seen as hostile, but that doesn't have to be. You can be assertive, you can be stern in your decision, in your speech, but it doesn't have to carry that aggression. You don't have to raise your voice and all these things to get your point across. It doesn't have to be, and it takes practice. I'm telling you. Some of the things I know now, I wish I knew years ago. I wish I didn't have to be a certain way and, dealt with things differently. But listen, as you grow, as you evolve, you really do get better and you become better at conflict resolution as well. So that those are a couple of the things that you want to pay attention to because we all need discipline in our lives. If you are a person, I know an indisciplined person when I see one. Yep, they live a lackluster life. Like it's anything comes, anything goes, it's whatever, it's kumbaya. Nothing carries structure in your life. You just get up and you go, and then it's another day. You're not trying to go beyond your norm. You're not trying to push the envelope. You're not trying to cross out of your comfort zone. You're not putting anything into the world. You're not starting up the business that you've been talking about since 1985. You're now in 2024. Nothing for you has started. None of the things you said you would do has been done. Your life lacks discipline. I love discipline. I love giving myself discipline. Self discipline is something I truly seek to admire. And that's why I said 2024 has really been a hard year for me, transparent moment. Um, it's been a lot of difficulty, a lot of closed doors, all these different things, but yet still I've been pushing against the tide and going against the grain, showing up and doing the things that I feel that are necessary for me to do with what I need to do in the world. And I'm going to be pushing myself some more into things and out of my comfort zone. Some of the things I may talk about, some I may keep to myself until, further notice. But that's just what it is. We have to challenge ourselves. And self discipline really helps in that area of our lives where we can follow rules regulations. We can keep order wherever we are. People know us as people who are law abiding citizens, you know. We are law abiding citizens over here. We're not breaking the laws. You're not drinking and driving. Hello? That is something I know in our society that lots of people take chances and they get away with it. And then one night, when they do what they do and they get behind the wheel and then they kill themselves, or they kill a pedestrian or someone, they get into an head on accident, then you see all the remorse, the sadness, the grief. But if that individual was disciplined, if they understood that, well, hey, look, this drinking thing, it's putting me out of character. Like, why am I drowning myself in a bottle? Why am I even choosing to get behind the wheel after I've had a few drinks and I know I'm tipsy at this point? Why am I pushing myself in this negative vein? We have to be careful. So, going back to this crack user, I said that this young man, if you did not know that he was a crack user, if he did not tell you, you couldn't have guessed it, because you know, when the whole, as they say, crack. I said crap, but it might as well be the same thing, because crack is crap. Crack is crap. Say no to drugs and tell your children that. I haven't First they used to do these government these government books, and it used to have say no to drugs at the back. We need that to be in the ears of our young people today, because you may feel like nobody's really you. People are addicted to drugs in this small town of ours. You see the craziness that is happening in our schools and on the streets. You see it. It's drugs. They're hooked up on pills, Molly, and all these things. So, yes, coming back to that young man, he said he had a good job in telecommunications. He was some kind of tech communications, let's say guru kind of thing. And a black guy, handsome, all his teeth in his mouth, full head of hair, good looking, well dressed, in the 80s, working for, what did he say, $35,000 a year. Of course, in the great all United States of America, right? Not over here. So 35,000 US, that was real money back then, real bread. We're talking the 80s, comfortable money. He was living a good life. But you know how he got introduced to it? Through a girlfriend. He said they went out and he went back to her place and she lighted up her crack pipe. And of course, misery always loves company. How about that? People don't ever be a crusader for good things. They always want to pull you into doing trash for you to get yourself hooked and messed up just like them. However, he was a man, he was daring. I think he said he did cocaine occasionally. Like, I know people who would do not know them personally, but I've known of this thing whereby I've heard some people talk about, okay, yes, they do cocaine occasionally. You hear these interviews on TV and stuff. But he now, when he said he had the first hit of crack, you should hear how this man describes it. I'm telling you, drugs is demonic, and crack sounds like a full body demonic possession, because the interviewee the interviewer, sorry, was asking him, because how he was smiling and saying that was the best. I'm telling you, he was talking about the pleasure of this crack, and now this crack and this crack. And the man was like, So you're telling me, he said it's the best thing he ever had, the best feeling he ever experienced. So of course the man hinted it is better than you know what? You know what he meant. He meant sex, of course. And so the man said, yes, better than that. So I said to myself, I hope that no one who hears this, though, go running to see what type of pleasure he was talking about, because this is a pleasure that lands you in at the gates of hell, so to speak. It will land you at the gates of hell. He talked about how once he started, the amount of money sometimes he would spend up to $1,300 US, mind you, a day on crack, his addiction. $54,000 spent on crack, his addiction. That's why we wonder what happened to Whitney Houston and all these people, why they ended up broke at a point in their lives and all these things. Is because this addiction of drugs, it's a very expensive habit, a very expensive addiction, and that's why discipline comes in, because discipline will cause you to postpone pleasure. What was he going after? Pleasure. In our human nature, we want to seek after pleasure. We like pleasurable things. That's why we like our favorite meal, because it makes us feel pleasurable. That's why we want to have sex, because it makes us feel pleasurable. That's why we get dressed up, dolled up, we go get our feet scrubbed, we go get a manicure, because we are seekers of pleasure. As much as we love God, there's a side to us that we love pleasure as well. But don't let that pleasure lead you down a dark path to addiction. That is where the problem is. And if you want to stay away from addiction, then you have to be someone who lives a disciplined life, so that you will know that I don't need this in my life, and keep the door shut to it. Before you go, he mentioned, and I remember, seeing shows about how the crack epidemic went on in the 80s in places like Harlem, devastated black communities. It was just as if crack was a whole conspiracy against the black family. I'm not going to get into that today. That's for another time, but you go and you investigate and you read up, you do your own research. But just look at it. He said sometimes he, of course, he could no longer hold down a regular 9 to 5 job, but because he had his skills, he still had work and he still had money coming in. And he said at the time of the interview, he was now a entrepreneur. He was running his own business, but he was still on crack at that time of the interview, because the interviewer asked him, he said, okay, so you no longer are part of this lifestyle? He said, no, I'm not going to say that. So the man said, did you have crack for the day? He said, no. And he said, so are you going to use crack today? He said, yes. Most likely, when he comes off of the show, he's going to go and get his hit. The funny thing is, that is not funny. He said after he had his first hit with crack, the very next morning, he was the first person at the bank, withdrew $600, and went to get the high, the first hit that he had. And ever since the first hit, and we've heard this many times before from drug addicts, they are in search of the first hit forever until they waste away and die, or unless they are rescued, they go to rehab and they kick the habit. It's an expensive habit to be hooked on drugs. And so even though he would get jobs, he would go missing. That's why you call you there were places called the crack house. Because people end up in the crack house your days and there just smoking and smoking and wasting away. He said sometimes he would be there. He saw a father and his daughter, his 60-year-old daughter, come in. Like they were both hooked on crack. And the father was about to pay the dealer, and the daughter said, "No, dad, it's my turn." 16-year-old. Yep. Both hooked on crack. He said another 16-year-old, a girl, she came in still in her uniform, her school uniform, buying crack. He said one time a single mother, I don't know, he assumed. Anyway, the woman came with her child, a baby in hand, and she needed to cash some check. And the place wasn't opened as yet. She put her baby in the hand of her dealer and pretty much pawned her baby and said to her dealer, "Hold my baby. I will be back in 10 minutes." You see that? You're going to say to me that that's not demonic? That thing takes you over, and the way that man described that drug and being addicted, my God, I just feel sorry all over again. The interview ended on the note that the guy passed away. I don't know how long after, I don't know when, I don't know from what, how he died. But that's what not living a disciplined life could bring you to. You can go in search of things that you really should stay away from. Living a disciplined life helps you to live a life in moderation, even with food. I know we love food. I like food too. I have my battles here and there, working towards certain things again. But you have to be disciplined. You have to say no sometimes. You have to shelve certain things. You have to wake up earlier as a Christian, as a child of God. Even if you have a hard job, you can take the time to say, hey, is either I spend the extra time with God in the morning or I do it before I sleep at night. For some people, I'm just trying to keep it real, right? For some of us, we do both times anytime during the day because we have the time. Some people don't have all that time, and that is understood. But you can discipline yourself to say, instead of going on TikTok first thing in the morning, instead of scrolling Instagram or hitting up Facebook first thing in the morning, let me open this Bible, get on my knees, spend some time with God. That's discipline. It helps to train our minds. That's what discipline does. It helps to train your body. A sportsman, a footballer, a basketball player, they have to be disciplined. A gymnast, a musician, they have to be disciplined in the work they do and in keeping their minds and their bodies in an outstanding shape for competitions and challenges. All right. So the minds, the body, and enables us to focus on our goals and regulate our emotions. When you are disciplined, you don't just get emotionally outburst at any time. You really become a disciplined person. You really know how to behave, how to act, how to show up. Be disciplined. Choose to be disciplined. Develop discipline. I remember at one point I had asked my cousin who's a footballer, this that was years ago. I said, "Man, I want to become more disciplined. I find I procrastinate and stuff." He said, "Get up every morning and sure you make up your bed." Ooh, that sure enough helped to build the muscle of being disciplined. It did. And it starts, in that simple way. I believe they do that in the army, whereby every day, yes, you get up, you have to make your bed. You must. Here are some ways that you can help to cultivate discipline by setting goals and holding yourself accountable to them. Write that down. Set goals and be accountable to them. Take care of your body. Take care of your body, people. Drink water. The other day, someone said to me they don't like the taste of water. I said, my gosh. The only time I don't enjoy water is if I'm on a water fast. Like, I get tired after a time of drinking that plain old water. But let me tell you something. Water is the best hydration that you can find. So put down the soft drinks. If you're drinking a soda every day, drink two sodas a week. Limit yourself. These things are really not good for your health. If you drink coffee every day, limit yourself. Go 3 times a week. Drink your coffee 3 times a week. Ease yourself. Break it down. Replace it with herbal teas. That's better for you. We have people with high blood pressure and all these things. You need lemon water. You need to eat more fruits. Lessen the sugars. Ease off the candy bar, the sweets, the chocolates. Lessen. Leave those things alone. Talking to myself here because I'm a bit of a snacky girl. But of course, it depends on my mood. But yes, these things are not things we should be consuming every week and every day. So ease off. You like to eat a lot of rice in the night. It's not good for your body. You're putting so much pressure on your digestive system. Kill those things. Discipline yourself. Discipline yourself. You have to do it. You have to tell yourself that it must be done. And I'm the one to do it. Working on your tasks even when you're not feeling motivated. This one. And this one is for me. I've got more projects to push out there and I've got to get to it even though I don't feel like doing it. May not be feeling like the best cheerleader of myself right now, but it has to be done. So I have to call up on discipline to take me through this one. Discipline. So even when I don't feel like it, some days you get up, you may not feel like it, but you gotta brush your teeth or else you're gonna have a stink mouth. Nobody wants to smell your breath. You have to take a bath. No one wants to smell you like that. So these are the things. Discipline yourself, doing what you have to do, even when you're not motivated. This one here, removing as many distractions as possible. Remove as many distractions as possible. The phone is a distraction now. These days, our ability to, what do they say? Your attention span has really grown thin. You got to rebuild that muscle to pay attention, to sit and to hear someone speak and not be twiddling on your phone. You've got to become disciplined. I even looked at myself the other day. I said, oh my gosh, this age of the internet really sucks. It really does. Because sometimes I may be watching something on my laptop and then before I know it, I'm scrolling for something else on my phone. It's ridiculous how this internet age has us. And it's good when you could identify the operation of it in your own life. But one of the things that it's not going to take away from me is my ability to read. I stay reading. I love books. I love doing research. I'm telling you, I should have gone in a whole different direction with my life earlier. But it is what it is. So you get lemons, you got to make lemonade, right? And that's okay. But yes, look at your attention span today. You can hardly sit and do one thing for long. Before you know it, your mind is racing on something else. You have all these screens open up, all these screens on your computer. That's like your brain. You got to shut down some of these things so you can pay attention. And yes, I know women are the best multitaskers, but even for us, we need to shut down distraction as well. See what are the What are the distracting elements in your life? And do your best to remove them. Okay, you can't get rid of your children, all right? Don't That's not it. You can't get rid of your husband. That's not it. Don't be cruel. Don't be like that. Don't do it. But you could take a break. Yes. You can take a break and then you can come back. God bless you this morning. Top of the Monday morning to you. Have a wonderful week. And I look forward to hearing from you again and being with you here on the podcast Friday. I'm also thinking about cutting the podcast down to a once a week. Yes, I'm playing with that thought. Maybe just coming on Fridays only. Let me know what you think. All right. Have a good one.